So this morning, our message is called, I Now Pronounce You Not Guilty. And I noticed that your topic of the day, one of the things it says here is freedom as an experience, talking about freedom. And let's think about it. How free can we actually be if we feel guilty for who we are? If we feel somehow like there's something wrong with us. Now, when I was a little kid and I was in my first churches, Angelina and I are both, we were born Catholic. We're both 3/4 Catholic. And I remember hearing very early on that I was born in original sin. Wow. You go to a place where you want to be uplifted and connected with God, and you hear something like that, it can mess you up. Dr. Phil would say, how's that working for you? Not so good. And then in 1984, when I entered a Unity church and I heard that I was born as an original blessing, what a game changer. I said I was never going to go to a church again, and somebody said, you got to go to Unity. And I said, no, I don't do church. They said, well, that's the church for people who don't like church. And so I've been going ever since. So the whole idea that we were born as a blessing, the whole idea that we are divine, beautiful beings, no matter what we say, no matter what we think, no matter what we do. We are divine children of God. In Unity, they often say, we see the Christ in you, see your Buddha nature. We are divine beings no matter what. Now, I didn't get a whole lot of that growing up. I got, you are such a good boy as long as we are not inconvenienced. And then I got a different message when someone was inconvenienced. But there was one place where I always got a great message. A wonderful man who always had a twinkle in his eye, and every time I looked at him, I felt worthy. Dye Asheville. Okay. It's a beautiful day in this neighborhood, a beautiful day for a neighbor. Would you be mine? Could you be mine? It's a neighborly day in this beauty wood, a neighborly day for a beauty. Would you be mine? Could you be mine? Won't you be my neighbor? Good morning, boys and girls. Welcome to Angelina and Armand's neighborhood. It's a special day. You might be wondering why I'm wearing this doctor coat. I'm not a real physician. I'm a metaphysician. Actually, I never met a physician I didn't like. But all right. You also may wonder why my shoes don't match. It's because I'm a cross-dresser. I like to use those labels because labels are just ways we separate ourselves from each other and feel different, and we're really much more the same. No, I like to wear mismatched shoes now and then to remind myself of the number one cause of premature aging and degenerative disease. That is taking yourself in life too. Spoken like true unitics. Good job. Now, if you're a little nervous and you don't want to wear mismatched shoes out in public, let's say you're having a rough day. Oh, maybe you watched the news. And you're starting to feel like everything might not be in divine order. And then you remember that all is perfectly happening the way it's supposed to, that God is in charge ultimately. So you might want to put some mismatched shoes on just to kind of remind yourself not to take yourself so seriously. If that's too much, you might want to wear mismatched socks. If you own a dryer, you have a pair. But just put them on and look down and remind yourself that everything will be okay in the end, and if it's not okay. In a lot of ways, things that are going on are not okay, but it's not the end, and it will all resolve, and it will all work out perfectly. It always does. So it's customary in our neighborhood to have a special word for the day. And our word for today is worthy. Let's say that together. Worthy. Now, worthy is often something that we think we have to earn. We have to earn. In order to be worthy, I have to earn. Now, in unity is all about telling you about your unlimited possibilities, right? Unity is really, in my opinion, a form of antivirus. Because we get these viruses when we're younger, and then we end up in a unity church to help remove those viruses that said that we are lackful or whatever. There's something wrong with us. So here's something that you're not able to do, though, no matter how hard you try. It's impossible for you to be unlovable. No. Who's tried? Who's tried to be unlovable? It's impossible for you to be unlovable. It's impossible for you to be unworthy, okay, in the eyes of God. Because a part of you, the real part of you, is divine and perfect and whole and has been here before your human body got here and will be here afterwards. It is the real spiritual nature of who you are. And that part is divine and worthy. So if you're going to tap into a part of yourself, tap into the part of you that's real, not into the part of you that has ego and fears and feels small in any way. So one of the things we can do to help ourselves and others feel worthy is exhibit as much unconditional love as possible. Now, that's pretty easy to do. You see how we talk to those kids, how much love we sent them? You're divine, you're wonderful. We need to do that with ourselves and with everybody else because there's a little sweet kid in all of us. Just a vulnerable, sweet, loving child. So one of the ways that we can do this, has anybody ever studied Real Love by Dr. Greg Bear? Real Love talks about this and says, it's important to be an example of unconditional love every chance you get. Now, the most challenging time to do that is when someone has said or done something to you that angers you or frustrates you or disappoints you. He says, never take your anger, frustration, or disappointment out on anyone, ever. He says, because when you do that, they immediately hear, I was lovable before, maybe, but I'm not now. Because that's get the message. Now, especially children and grandchildren, especially them. So you might think, well, what do I do when my grandkid or child does something that infuriates me? Here's what you do. So let's say you have a 16-year-old child and they just drove your new car through the garage door. How's that working for you? Now, you're probably going to be very disappointed. You're going to be angry at the child. You're not really angry at the child. You're angry at yourself. You're angry. It's all about yourself. It's never about anybody else. But we want to take it out on the other people typically. Okay, so you're angry. You're frustrated. You're disappointed. What he says to do if you want to show that child unconditional love is you go to the child and say, hello, beautiful child of mine. I love you, and I just want you to know, I love you the same after you broke my garage as I did before you broke the garage. But Dad is having problems right now, and Dad's got to go fix Dad, and then I'll come back and we'll talk, but I love you. Then you go over here and you say, excuse me, I want to kill my kid right now. Now, what you're doing when you're going over here is you're getting a neutral person, somebody that you love, hopefully somebody that can see you the way you are and know who your real self is. And you're releasing that anger and frustration, but not on the person who brought it to you, who mirrored it to you. And then that person will say, yeah, I understand. I would feel the same way. What do you need? And you get filled back up. See, when you get angry and resentful, you have emptied out your love. You get filled back up, and you know everything will be okay in the end. And then you can go back and say, still love you. I hope you're okay. Let's deal with this thing. Your allowance for the next 8 years. Or whatever. And then you give them unconditional love before, during, and after, and something that they really need, which is consequences and discipline. We are accountable for what we do, but we're no less lovable when we do it. And that's the important thing. So Angelina and I, when we met, I don't remember the date, August 27, 2000, when I was singing and speaking at her Unity Church of Christianity in Orlando, and about 4 months later, we fell madly in love. I got to tell you something. That day, I knew I was divine. And she knew she was divine. But when we sobered up, and I say sobered up because when you fall in love, you are inebriated people. So after about 18 months when we sobered up, and she would say, "You're the most wonderful guy in the world," I'd go, "You don't know me that well." Because my old unworthiness when the drugs wore off came back to the surface. And I stopped believing her, and vice versa. Because that stuff has to get dealt with. It has to be released. And sometimes the best way to release it is to bring it up and own it and look at it and engage it and then send it away. So we decided that we didn't need those love drugs. We were going to stay together and work through our own insecurities together. So after about 5 years of being together, she would say something like, "I think you're the greatest guy in the world." And I go, "I'm learning how to believe that. I'm learning how to love me the way you do." See, the way God loves us is unconditionally, no matter what. Love, 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 love. That's the way the universe loves us, pure. We have trouble doing that as humans. And then after about 9 years of being together, she said something like that, and I went, wow, I finally can embrace that. I can really feel it without any part of me resisting and going, "Yeah, but you saw what I did the other day. You saw that. My thoughts aren't always pure." Let me give you a great tool to lessen your load. How many people have tried in their life ever to have pure thoughts, words, and actions all the time? Who's pulled that off? I wanted an Eckhart Tolle moment, baby. I wanted to wake up one morning and be completely disidentified from my ego. Didn't happen. So Spirit gave me this great tool that said, you will have negative thoughts and you will have negative words. This is called a gratitude. It rhymes with ratatouille because we love that movie. Gratitude. Every time you think or say something negative, follow it up with 2 positive things around the event. Give you an example. You're driving down the road. Somebody cuts you off on I-26 and you say, "Oh my goodness, what a jerk." And I'm grateful that they didn't hit me. And I'm grateful that my car is running so well. Now what you've done is you've taken 1 step backwards when you've been negative, and then you've taken 2 steps forward. So you're actually further along than you were when you were negative. That is much easier than hyper vigilant. I'll never say a negative thought. People that do that are usually very passive aggressive because they're trying so hard to be perfect. Angelina told me one day, she goes, "You know, this perfection thing is exhausting." All right. So we're going to sing a song for you now called "Love Me the Way You Do," If I Could Only Love Me the Way You Do. And really, it's not just a romantic song, although our romance is what brought it to the table. It's really a divine, beloved romance with God, allowing yourself to love yourself the way God does. I look up to the sky, the sun beats down on you. It makes me warm and high inside. But then I see an even brighter shade of blue when I look into your eyes.
You're more than all I ever wanted in someone. You bring me love I never knew. I'm here to help you know you've always
love me the way you do.
If I could only love me the way you do.
I'd breathe in all the beauty that wakes me up to life.
Wakes me up to life. Wakes me up to you.
You say you love me as you look into my soul. I find it so hard to believe.
But what I love is just a mirror of myself. Look at what you've done for me.
I'm learning how to love me the way you do.
I'm learning how to love me the way you do.
And I'm breathing all the beauty that wakes me up to life.
Wakes me up to life.
Wakes me up to you, God. Oh, wakes me up to you. Wakes me up to Happiness is simply learning how to love.
It's more abundant than the grains of sand.
Unless we open up and give it to ourselves, it'll slip right through our hands. There's still a part of me that doesn't have a clue why you say that I'm the one.
'Cause everything you are has drawn my heart to you.
Paradise had just begun. I finally learned to love me the way you do.
I finally learned to love me the way you do.
And I'm breathing all the beauty that wakes me up to life.
Wakes me up to life.
That wakes me up. I finally learned to love me the way you do.
I finally learned to love me the way you do.
And I'm breathing all the beauty that wakes me up to life.
Wakes me up to life.
Wakes me up to you, God. Oh, wakes me up. Wakes me up. It's time to wake up. So as we wake up more and more and more, our eyes become clearer, because with that clarity, we begin to see things more as beautiful. We begin to see ourselves more as beautiful. We begin to see others more as beautiful. We begin to see the way Mother Teresa saw. When they asked her, how do you go out in the streets with all that despair? She goes, I just look at the Christ in all of its different disguises. There's an old saying, she also said, if you cannot see God in the face of the person closest to you, you'll never find God. Right there all the time. So one of the things we do as we become more aware of our beauty and worthiness, we become more aware that we really are and have always been innocent. Okay? Even when our behaviors have not been innocent. Your behaviors and you are different. It's very important to understand the difference between accountability and shame. Okay? Accountability is when you authentically say, I want to do better than I did. Shame is when you say, I want to be better than I was because I was bad or am bad. You see the difference? Doing and being. Your beingness is always divine, okay? You're putting your beingness down and making yourself less than is shame, and it's never healthy to shame. Putting down your behavior as being less than your best, which you want to improve upon, is not only wonderful, healthy remorse, but it'll help people like you better. Okay, not that that's all that important, but it's because you become a better person. You want to become a person that acts more in a divine way. But you can never become a better being because the being of who you are is always innocent. Can you get that with me? You're always innocent. You have never been unlovable no matter what you've done. And this will go against your ego. Prepare for resistance. So Oprah had some gentlemen on her show one time, and these gentlemen had just gotten out of prison for taking the lives of their family members. Now, both of them had gotten out of prison because of DNA testing. They proved that they had been innocent all along. So it was a happy day. But here was the kicker. Both men had confessed to the crime. Oprah's like, why in the world would you confess to a horrific crime that you didn't do? They said something to the effect of, well, we were traumatized. Family members had just been killed. We were blamed. We were suspects. We were brought in. We were interrogated. Combination between confusion and you know you did it. Why don't you just admit you did it? You get a lesser sentence if you admit you did it. Blah, 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 blah. And they got interrogated to where it was like they would say anything to get the voices to stop. And I began weeping. I said, oh my God, Angelina, I empathize with these men. Because maybe not that particular situation, but if you have ever thought of yourself as less than because someone told you what was wrong with you, you come into this world as an innocent, beloved, gorgeous, divine child, and then somebody tells you something's wrong with you, wrong sex, wrong age, wrong skin color, wrong orientation, wrong height, wrong anything. And eventually there's a part of you that'll say, I'll say anything to get the voices to stop. Okay. And at that point, you have now made a confession to the worst crime possible. You have confessed to being unlovable, which is impossible. It's a false confession. So we're going to sing a song now as we close this part of the service called Innocent that I wrote the day after I watched that Oprah show in my hopes to pardon all of us from any shame or believing that in any way ever we have been less than divine. Prison time for a crime he did not do. He gave a false confession, and when they asked him why, he said, I did not know the truth. He was innocent. I thought about my own life, how I was like that kid when they told me I was bad. I offered my confession to what they said I did and lost the childhood I once had. I am innocent. I did nothing wrong. I've been serving time for this crime for far too long. I am not to blame. for what I didn't do. There is nothing I need to prove. I am innocent. We are innocent. This is the time for justice. Oh yeah. This time we're gonna get it right. We're finally hearing the whole truth. You know what I did? I fired all my jury and got the pardon I deserved. And now I'm freeing other inmates too. You are innocent. You did nothing wrong. You've been serving time for this crime for far too long. You are not to blame for what you didn't do. There is nothing you need to prove. We are innocent. We did nothing wrong. We've been serving time for this crime for way too long. We are not to blame for what we didn't do. There is nothing we need to prove. I am innocent.
You are so lovable.
You are innocent.
Who you are is so important.
We are innocent.
You deserve so much love.
There is nothing we need to prove. I am innocent.
You are worthy.
You are innocent.
You are perfect in every way.
We are innocent. I now pronounce us not guilty.